And we have our magma chamber, we have the neck that's coming out. And then we have these three things that's something worth learning about. There's things called the vents. And all the vent is basically cracks that feed off of the surface and feed into the neck of the volcano. And so we have multiple of these vents throughout any given volcano. And generally, these vents, the reason why we call them vents, is they are basically the places where a lot of the gases that build up inside a volcano are released. Those are your vents. So what's the crater?
The big circle thing.
Yeah, the big circle thing at the top, right? So it's that indentation at the top of the volcano. What's this thing right here? Okay, that's your crater. By the way, guys, what gases do we find inside volcanoes? What gases? No. We talk about the gases of a volcano. Sulfur, basically sulfur dioxide is one of them.
Unleaded.
So we talk about gases, that's SO2, so sulfur dioxide. We have carbon dioxide, which is really important to mention. Carbon monoxide. Actually, a lot of our water vapor. So the majority of the gases that are inside there are very toxic. Cool. Now, when we think about greenhouse gases, this is one of those things where, we have evidence that global warming, if you want to prescribe to that, that's your choice. But there's a lot more evidence out there that we are not the sole causes of climate change. That there's these things that are happening on a global level that affect the climate way more than the human population ever could. For example, in a single volcanic eruption, think about how many of those we have every year. A single volcanic eruption, not a major volcanic eruption, a single little volcanic eruption. Like the one that shut down Europe for almost a week that erupted on Iceland. Okay, that's just an average volcano erupting on Iceland. In that time frame, in that 5 days, there was more sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide released than the entire human population releases through our industry and through our driving of vehicles.
Like how? Like every year? Or
within a year's time frame.
So in 5 days, that means more than we do in a year?
Basically. So if you really want to believe this idea that the car you're driving is killing the environment, go ahead. That's your choice. But trust me, you not driving, if we stop driving as an entire species, if we stop producing as an entire species, climate change will still occur. And you can see that evidence in ice cores. You can see that evidence in a lot of different places. All you got to do is know where to look. Climate change occurs with or without human intervention. And there's nothing we can do to stop it, and there's nothing we can do to actually report it. So that's just one of those things that's worth mentioning here. So it's really important that you guys make sure we have this connection between sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide. When we think about Yellowstone, all right, we think about the Yellowstone volcano, the super volcano. Why do they call it Yellowstone National Park?
The stones are yellow.
And why are they yellow? What's in all of the geysers and all of the hydrothermal vents? Sulfur. And so as that water's spewing out, the water evaporates, what's left behind to start to crystallize? Sulfur. Okay, so when we think about volcanoes, it's a perfect example where we get sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide as our major gases that are released. Okay. Now there's this thing called the caldera, and that basically is very similar to the Yellowstone. Now, if you kind of think of this, you ever sat on a waterbed before?
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Right? Make you seasick once in a while. But it's kind of fun to sit down there. Well, imagine having the magma chamber, which is a fluid. It's molten, but it acts like a fluid. So what is that going to do to this tremendous weight of this volcano? What does the magma chamber do to that volcano? Okay, let's think about this. Think of a waterbed. And you go to lie down on the waterbed. Why don't you just sink all the way down to the bottom? What does the water do?
It moves around you.
It moves around you and it exerts a force outward. Okay, it's called a buoyant force. When we think about the magma chamber, it's doing the same thing with the weight of the volcano. That volcano is pushing downward on the surface of that magma chamber. You're getting a lot of downward pressure. But at the same time, because it's like a fluid, that magma chamber is also pushing up. Well, let's say we have a massive eruption. And now, the majority of my magma chamber empties out. Do I have a buoyant force anymore?
No.
So is there anything to support the weight of that volcano? So what happens? So the volcano simply comes crashing down.
You're saying that the Yellowstone, instead of being a cone shape, the caldera is their crater, and it's just underground.
That's basically what happened, is that the magma chamber was so massive and the last eruption was so huge that literally the entire volcano condensed or collapsed inward on itself. And now what we have is a caldera where that little divot in the ground actually is the crater of the volcano.
So, how was it like 45 by 64 miles?
Yeah.
Sweet.
See why we call it a super volcano?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Huge.
Good thing Coleman wants it to happen.